Clara had always been their pride and joy, and they never hesitated to show her how much they adored her. When I was 5 and Clara was 7, I remember one birthday in particular that made things clearer. Clara's birthday was a grand affair, filled with friends, presents, a huge cake, and even a pony ride in our backyard. I stood by the window, watching as she laughed and played with her friends, dressed in the beautiful pink dress my mother had bought for her. She was showered with so many gifts I could barely count them. The next day, when it was my birthday, I received a single doll. No party, no cake. My mother handed it to me casually.
"Here, Susan, happy birthday."
And that was it. No balloons, no laughter. Just a doll, and I wasn't even sure they had wrapped it themselves. That was how it always was. From the beginning, it was clear that my parents only had room in their hearts for one daughter, and that was my older sister, Clara. Clara was smart and looked just like our mother. She was the center of their world, the one who could do no wrong. Me? I was just the other one, the invisible one. Clara had always been their pride and joy, and they never hesitated to show her how much they adored her. When I was 5 and Clara was 7, I remember one birthday in particular that made things clearer. Clara's birthday was a grand affair, filled with friends, presents, a huge cake, and even a pony ride in our backyard. I stood by the window, watching as she laughed and played with her friends, dressed in the beautiful pink dress my mother had bought for her. She was showered with so many gifts I could barely count them. The next day, when it was my birthday, I received a single doll. No party, no cake. My mother handed it to me casually.
"Here, Susan, happy birthday."
And that was it. No balloons, no laughter. Just a doll, and I wasn't even sure they had wrapped it themselves. That was how it always was. Clara got everything. The best clothes, the most attention, and all the love they had to give. I, on the other hand, was left with scraps, with only the bare minimum to get by. It wasn't just about material things, though. It was deeper than that. Whenever Clara had a school play, both of my parents would be there, sitting in the front row, clapping louder than anyone else. But when it was my turn to be in a play, they'd either forget or make excuses. I remember one year, when I was 10, I had the lead role in a small school production. I told them about it for weeks, but when the day came, I looked out into the audience and saw only empty seats where they should have been. I cried and couldn't perform as the leader. The teacher had to take me out and call my parents, but they didn't even come to pick me up. When I got home, my parents didn't even care to know why I cried. They simply thought I was weak.
Maybe Clara could help you next time. She's always been better at these kinds of things.
Clara was the golden child, the one who received all their attention, all their hopes, all their dreams. It wasn't long before I stopped trying to impress them. I wasn't good enough. I would never be enough for them. As I got older, the favoritism only worsened. When Clara turned 16, they threw her a lavish Sweet 16 party, complete with a live band, a custom cake, and enough decorations to fill a ballroom. Everyone from school was invited, and my parents spared no expense. But when I turned 16, all I got was a simple dinner at home.
We're saving money for Clara's college. We can't afford to spend money on irrelevant things for now. You understand, don't you?
You're not as outgoing as Clara anyway. You wouldn't enjoy something like that.
They didn't even try to hide their preference for her anymore. They had given up on me. Then, when I turned 18, things took a turn I never could have predicted. My father's wealth was tied to several businesses, and he frequently entertained clients at our home. One of those clients was Mr. Donovan, a wealthy businessman who had been doing business with my father for years. I didn't like him. He was a tall man and looked very intimidating, but my parents were always polite to him. One evening, I was clearing the table after dinner when I overheard a conversation between Mr. Donovan and my parents.
She's a good girl, Donovan. Quiet, obedient. She'll make you happy.
We've never had any trouble with her. She's always been the easy one.
Are you sure she'll fit in with my plans? She's a bit younger than I was thinking. She's better off with you. Honestly, we never even planned to have her. We're fine with Clara. Susan is more like a liability to us.
They were selling me off to him, like some kind of property. They didn't love me. They never had. My parents didn't even look sad when they told me.
You're leaving with Mr. Donovan. He'll take care of you.
They didn't even hug me goodbye. I left with Mr. Donovan that day, feeling utterly abandoned. I was devastated. How could my own parents, the people who were supposed to love and protect me, sell me off like I was nothing? But something strange happened after I left with Mr. Donovan. He didn't treat me like I expected. Instead of the cold, heartless man I had feared he would be, he was kind to me. Genuinely kind. Over time, I realized that he hadn't bought me to hurt me or use me. He had taken me in because he had no children of his own, and he had seen how neglected I had been. He wanted to give me a better life, a chance to be happy. Mr. Donovan treated me like a daughter, not a possession. He paid for me to go to college, encouraged me to pursue my dreams, and even helped me start my own fashion house when I graduated. He was there for me in ways my real parents never had been, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. As the years passed, our relationship grew stronger. I started calling him Dad, and he welcomed it with open arms. He even met a kind woman, who later became his wife. They had a child together, and suddenly, we were a real family. Life was good, I was successful, I had a family who loved me, and I had finally found happiness. Years later, I returned to my birth country as part of a charity project. I had become involved in helping at a local shelter home, and it was during one of these visits that I saw my parents. I almost didn't recognize them at first. They had aged so much, their faces now lined with wrinkles and worn down by hardship. They looked frail, broken, and lost. I hadn't seen them in years, and now, here they were, seeking refuge in the very shelter home I was helping. When they saw me, recognized me, and immediately dropped to their knees, weeping.
Susan, we're so sorry. We made a terrible mistake. Forgive us, please. We regret everything.
Clara ruined us. She got involved with gambling and lost everything. Our house, our cars, it's all gone. We're in debt, Susan. We have nothing left.
I was stunned. Clara, the golden child who could do no wrong, had brought them to ruin. It was almost poetic.
We don't deserve your forgiveness, but please, help us. We don't have anywhere else to go.
We're sorry for what we did to you. We thought Clara would always take care of us. But she's gone, Susan. She's gone, and we need you.
I couldn't believe my ears. For years, I had waited for that moment when they would finally realize how wrong they had been and how much they had hurt me. And now, here they were, broken, begging for my forgiveness. They had thrown me away like I was nothing, and now they wanted me to save them. They didn't deserve my forgiveness. They didn't deserve anything from me.
Susan, please. We were wrong. We know that now. We're paying for our mistakes. Please, help us.
I knew they weren't sorry for what they did to me. They were only sorry because they had lost everything. They were desperate, and I wasn't going to let them manipulate me. You chose Clara over me my entire life. You sold me off to a stranger because you didn't want me. You never cared about me. And now that you've lost everything, you come to me, hoping that I'll fix it for you? You want me to save you after everything you did to me? No, you don't get to do that.
Susan, please.
No, you deserve everything that's happening to you. You deserve to lose it all. And Clara? I hope she never finds peace. I hope she suffers the way I did, the way you made me suffer. While I was speaking, the shelter's manager came to ask what the matter was and if I was okay. Make sure these two people are never taken in. Blacklist their names from every shelter. They don't deserve anyone's help. The manager didn't ask any questions. He agreed to my decision and left. My parents cried louder and kept begging me, but I pushed them off and walked out of the shelter. But it wasn't over. I went to find where my parents were living and discovered it was an old, uncompleted building. It was barely livable, but it was still a shelter. And I wasn't about to let them have even that. I tracked down the owner of the building and made him an offer he couldn't refuse. It didn't take long for the papers to be signed, and just like that, the building was mine. I ordered the previous landlord to go to them and ask them to leave immediately.
What do you mean we have to leave? You can't do this to us.
We have nowhere else to go. Don't do this, please.
Please, just give us more time. Give us time to find somewhere else. Please.
I'm sorry, but the new owner doesn't want anyone living here. You have to go.
My mother was in tears as my father tried to argue, but it was no use. I stepped out of my hiding place and ordered them to get out of my building. They were visibly shocked. Before they could beg, I ordered security to throw their things outside. It was snowing. I almost laughed, but I kept a straight face after thinking about all they had done to me. They had nothing left, no home, no money, no family. They were alone, just like they had made me feel all those years ago. I didn't feel sorry for them, not even a little. Weeks passed, and I heard through someone that my parents were now living on the streets, reduced to begging for scraps. I could have helped them. I could have given them shelter, a second chance at life. But I didn't. They didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve my forgiveness, my kindness, or my pity. In the years that followed, I focused on my own life. I expanded my fashion business, traveled the world, and grew closer to the family that truly loved me. They had given me everything I had ever needed, and I owed them everything. They were my real parents, the ones who had cared for me when no one else did. As for my birth parents, I didn't hear much about them after that. I knew they continued to live as beggars, struggling to survive day by day. And Clara? She was never heard from again. Rumor had it that she was still held captive by one of her debtors. Forced to serve them as payment for her gambling debts, she was used as their slave. It seemed fitting in a way. She had always taken everything for granted, and now she was paying the price. I sometimes wondered if I had made the right choice, if I should have forgiven them and given them another chance. But then I remembered all the years of neglect, the pain they had caused me, and the fact that they had sold me off without a second thought. No, I had made the right choice. They had made their bed, and now they were lying in it. And I was finally free. Free from their shadows, free from their neglect, and free to live the life I had always deserved. The life they had never wanted me to have. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.